The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete. That is crazy
As I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck. Hello and welcome to round 3 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series at Laguna Seca. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman. With me in the booth is Kevin Brown and Ayrton Ellis, and behind the scenes doing all the button pushing is Giancarlo Lenzi. Ayrton, here we are once again at the infamous Laguna Seca over on the west coast on the United States of America. The series were here last season for a bit of an eventful race. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the circuit?
Thanks, Sam. Great to be back. This circuit is quite unique, one of the more difficult tracks on the schedule for this series. 2.2 miles and 11 corners, and we'll be doing a 2-hour race here. Just a note from last season that it was a cautionless race, so hopefully we'll see a few more cautions to keep it all bunched up and exciting. Back to you, Sam.
Yes, and I'll also bring in our second commentator right now, Kevin Brown, who will be covering the GS series today. Hey Kevin, while qualifying's wrapping up right here, why don't you tell us about how the point standings are on the GS side heading into the third round of the season?
Absolutely, Samuel. And off the strength of his win earlier this season, Patrick Beery is leading the GS class with 80 points. Second is Nicholas Bailey and Oscar Salin, both tied with 68, 12 behind. Fourth is Elliot Huffman, 17 points behind. And fifth is Season 3 champion Steve Brown, who's sitting 20 points behind.
And Ayrton Ellis will be covering our ST Mazda Miata class today. Ayrton, do you want to give us a quick rundown of point standings on the ST side?
Yep, well, at the top is Amjad Yaman and teammate Jared Janis in second, and Stefan Overgaard, James Stevenson, also teammates, and Bill Randleman in fifth, all within 25 points.
Yeah, and we got about a 40 car field here today. 23 Mustangs put on qualifying laps as the field are getting gridded up on the front stretch right now. And I believe we got about a field of 17 Miatas, so we'll certainly have plenty of action out on this 2.2 mile circuit. And on your pole position right now on the GS side, they'll be doing the pace laps. There's still a little bit of time before they go green. Is Kimo Swamanen, and lined up alongside him is Todd Hansarenko. Before we run through the field though, let's hit on a couple of the stories of the race here, Kevin. What kind of race do you think we're going to see in the GS class on the circuit?
I think we're going to see a lot of chaos, essentially. There's a lot of Mustangs, there's a lot of ST cars in this field, and there's going to be a lot of traffic mixing up. This is a difficult track. It's easy for people to make mistakes, and I think that's going to be the story of the race, is who's going to be able to deal with traffic and make a position stick or lose somebody because of a better pass on a lap car that they're going to be dealing with. And because Laguna Seca is so difficult, will we see yellows? That's going to be the other big question.
Last year we didn't, but this year could be very different because of a big field and because of factors that Kevin just threw in for us there. As for the ST side, the Miatas, we've seen Amjad Yamin win both opening races in the Miata class so far this season. But it was João Freitas here at Laguna Seca last year who absolutely dominated the race. But Kevin, I believe you were there for the broadcast last time out. Freitas was just upstaged by Yamin at Laguna at Sebring in their last lap battle. However, sorry, wait a second, a little bit of a distraction there. However, like I say, Freitas dominated here last year, but Yamin has proven to be the car that beat this year. Who do you think on the ST side is going to come out on top this race?
You know, that's a difficult one. We see the top four of Sergio Mora, Amjad Yaman, Joao Freitas, and James Stevenson, all very close on qualifying times, and these guys are very, very, very good. So hopefully it will come down like it did to Sebring, where it's a last lap, last corner battle. Because really, you know, you could throw a coffee cloth over all four of those guys. They're going to be so close to each other.
Absolutely, and you see now that the field are working their way around on their one pace lap here of Laguna Seca. So now we'll do a quick run down the order. Kimmo Swarminen on pole position for the GS class, with Todd Hansarenko second, Patrick Breary third, German Afanador fourth, Nicholas Bailey fifth, Brandon McIntyre sixth, Panu Pessinen seventh, Andre Trago eighth, Elliot Huffman ninth, Arthur Hermont 10th, Sean Vandergriff 11th, and Jason Lundy 12th. Anthony Woodward is 13th, and Braith Morrow is 14th, and Phil Schrader is 15th. We're going to jump to the front of the street tuner class now, because the field are leading their way through the corkscrew. Only a couple of turns left here. Sergio Mura has the pole position in the street tuner class. He almost took a win at Daytona. Amjad Yamin, your two-time winner so far this season, starts second. Joao Freitas, last season's champion James Stevenson, and George Britton round out the top five on ST. Well, Kimmo Swarminen will have control of the field when the Mustang pace car makes the hard left turn right here, and they will come through turn 11. Kimmo Swarminen going to have the desired inside line for that run down to the start line, Kevin.
He does, in the back of the GS field, is still trying to catch up, but Kimmo Swarminen is in control of the lead, and the green has gone, and these guys are starting to roll right now, Samuel.
Indeed they are, and it's side by side, but Kimmo Swarminen's going to have the desired line in this first corner here. Todd Hansarenko on the outside, Patrick Breary all on his own in third place. The leaders get through the turn okay. Looks like the GS field have got through the first turn cleanly. Back to Ayrton for the ST start.
Yep, and they're lining up the green flag ready to come out any moment, as the spotter will call it. Administrator Wes Eric will call the green flag, and they start accelerate. Sergio Mora getting a little better speed than Amjad Yaman off the line, and Joao Freitas goes to the inside into second place, and Amjad Yaman is being threatened by James Stevenson on the outside as well. He breaks very late and is already threatening the lead on the outside line, but gets repassed by Joao Freitas.
Eric Smith, meanwhile, started from pit road. Not a bad decision, considering this is a 2-hour race. And I'm watching battles throughout the ST field right now, as Jared Lawson going side by side there. Stefan Overgaard also having a little battle. So a bit of a frenzy in the ST class, as they almost go 3 wide down into turn 5 there, with Stefan Overgaard, Jared Lawson and Joshua Loyce. But so far it's all been clean, Kevin.
There is, but there's just a pass right now by German Afanador on Nicholas Bailey into turn 10. That was well done, and Afanador's got that preferred line into 11, and away he goes.
Coming around to complete the first of who knows how many laps, Kimmo Swarminen leading the way by about a second over Todd Hansarenko. Patrick Breary in third place, so the top three are the same the way they started. As a matter of fact, so are... Really, it looks like the top 10 has had a pretty uneventful start, Kevin.
Yeah, it's resulted in an uneventful start. There was a little bit of 3-wide action through turn 1 at the start, and took a couple of corners for guys to kind of get single file, but they're a little sorted out now, and time to get some racing done.
I do see a bit of damage on the front of Anthony Woodward's Mustang. We'll try and see if we can go back in time a little bit and find out how that happened. He was able to pick up a spot though, so whatever he did, it seems to have worked for him. And 1 lap in the books on the ST class at Ayrton, and it doesn't look like there's been a whole lot of change there up front either.
Yeah, the top 2 guys, Sergio Mora and Joao Freitas, have opened a little gap. They're very close to each other, but right behind them is Amjad Yaman and James Stevenson. They're going to look to try to keep behind those top 2 as well, but it's still quite a big group behind them in that mid-pack.
Early stages here at Laguna Seca, plenty of time for the drivers to make a move. I'm watching Like I say, the GS are very much a similar story. The top three all remaining within a viewing distance of one another. Actually, Todd Tensarenko closes up there a bit on Kimo Swaminen in the final turn, but he may have overshot the turn because Kimo's able to pull away from him as they go on down the front straight and has the lead for the second lap around here, Kevin.
Indeed, and I want to update everybody on that damage from Anthony Woodward. He was involved with a little three-car wreck with Arthur Hermont and Jason Lundy. Lundy accidentally tapped the rear end of Arthur Hermont in the middle of the last corner, turn 11, and spun Hermont around, and that left Woodward with no place to go, and he got into the back of Jason Lundy. So damage throughout, but all these guys are back running again. A lot of time left in this race.
Absolutely. So, not a whole lot of change, like we say, early on in the race here, but we'll try and find a battle back in the pack for you. GS, it looks like, is a bit spread out right now, at least at the front end of the field, at the back end a bit closer. Trying to see the ST field running down into the first corner. They are all single file right now as we watch a couple of cars putting the wheels out wide on that turn 6. And Nerton, we didn't really have time before the race to talk about the challenges that this track had. Turn 6 is really a bit more of a challenge, in my opinion, here than the corkscrew is.
Yeah, a lot of drivers you'll see going very far wide on that corner because it's very easy to either hit that bump on the inside or not be able to take an early enough apex and go really wide on exit. So it's one of the very difficult corners to master, and the drivers that can complete turn 6 successfully and consistently will definitely have an upper edge on this race.
Top 10 as they run right now in GS is Kimo Swaminen, Todd Tensarenko, Patrick Breary, Nicholas Bailey, German Afanador, Brandon McIntyre, Panu Pessinen, Andre Trago, Elliot Huffman and Sean Vandergriff. Not a whole lot of change from where they qualified. Meanwhile, on the ST side, it's Sergio Mura, João Freitas, Amjad Yamin, James Stevenson and Thomas Torp, Marco Mogren, George Brillen, Joshua Lloyd, Stefan Overgaard and Jared Lawson. All names that we're quite familiar with, and so far they're racing very professionally, not a whole lot of incidents. Oh, and there is one car off as I say that, and Nicholas Bailey has put his Mustang in the wall, Kevin.
Yeah, I didn't see that, so I'm trying to watch that replay right now.
It looks like he just got too much power out of a turn. We'll try and get a replay here. It only happened about 20-30 seconds ago. He was running 4th place in the GS field at the time.
Samuel, he dropped a wheel on the exit of turn 3, and that snapped him back onto the wall on the inside. That's a common mistake to happen, and he hit hard. I bet he's got a lot of damage on his right rear.
On his right front, he's just limping along the sidelines. Now, who's this we're seeing in the pits right here? Another Mustang having issues.
Yeah, that's Braith Morrow. I'll try and figure out what happened there.
And Nicholas Bailey has deemed that his car is too unfit to drive. He has pulled his blue and white Mustang to a stop on the outside of turn 5. And he's going to take a tow from the pits as the car spins off in the corkscrew. There was contact between 2 Mustangs there at the back of the field. I'm trying to work out who that was. 2 green Mustangs. Mike Main and Danny Lowe. They had contact in the corkscrew.
Well, I'm trying to find that one as well right now, Samuel. Too much action going on. I can't figure out what happened with Braith Morrow. Couldn't see any incident that he had, but he's in pit for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll try and get a couple of replays up from you as Mike Main brings his battered Mustang down pit road. You see it at the back of your screen there. Now let's see what we're going to see a replay of here. Here they are, coming through turn 6 and going up the hill. This is Mike Main. It was all running clean at the time, and you can see there's about a 5-car pack here. The Mustang right behind him just gets a little bit too hot in, and well, the drivers did a heck of a job to not make that worse than what it was, Kevin.
You know, Samuel, I think Philip Carpenter got into the back of Mike Main and caused that. So I think that's definitely Carpenter either went a little deep, got a little too aggressive, or was caught out by Mike Main. Not really sure what, but definitely looked like contact to me.
Yeah, and fortunately it was only just that tiny bit of car contact, and my apologies to Philip Carpenter. He was not involved in the incident, but there's a crash right behind him. The Hermont gets off in the grass over in turn 5 and spins, able to keep it off the wall, and Fortunately, large gravel tracks at the circuit, we haven't seen the cautions thrown for any of these incidents yet, and it seems like the GS cars are finding it a little bit more tricky here in the early stages, Kevin. Could that be because of the tires?
You know, it could be a little bit that they've lost some of the grippiness on the tires and are starting to struggle a little bit with grip. You know, Laguna Seca is just a tough place for Mustangs just in general. So these GS drivers, you know, are probably struggling a little bit, and dealing with that traffic's just kind of catching them out a little bit, I think. But I'm glad to see that Arthur Hermont's able to get going a little, was able to rejoin on the track. He does have damage on that left front from that incident early in the race. Arthur's a pretty good driver, so hopefully he'll be able to move forward some.
Mike Main also able to get back out on track in his green Mustang. He just rejoined the circuit with that front end damage. I haven't seen Nicholas Bailey return to the circuit. He might be out, but while we've been paying a lot of attention to the GS field in recent stages, how has the Street Tuner race been going, Elton?
Well, Sergio Mora has been gradually extending his lead quite a little bit. He's been running consistent faster laps than João Freitas and Amjad Yaman and James Stevenson, but those three are still all very close together, and behind them also Marco Mogren has moved up to 5th place and also battled for 6th place position between Thomas Torp, George Britton, and Joshua Loitz.
Let's try and get a look at that, the battle for 6th place in ST field. That is a three-way battle here in the early stages. And indeed, you see George Britton not too far in front of Thomas Torp. In the white car is Thomas, in the yellow car is George, and behind them is Joshua Loitz in that blue and white car. Now I've got to admit, Ayrton, these are names that we're not overly too familiar with. George Britton, I believe, was at Sebring. Thomas Torp is usually a midfield contender in the highly competitive MX-5 World Tour, and Joshua Loitz is a driver that we're more used to seeing, and he's one of those drivers who just kind of hands there, and then at the end of a race it is usually when you see him make his move.
Yeah, they're all very consistent drivers. We often see them in the mid-pack. Joshua Loitz actually just ran a little wide on turn 6 and is under threat from Stefan Overgaard, who we're normally used to seeing a little farther in front. I noticed that he had a not so good of a qualifying session, but he's trying to work his way back up the field.
And we are aware we're having a couple little technical difficulties right now, so we're going to take a quick break while the field's a bit spread out, and hopefully we'll get those fixed by the time we return. Hello and welcome back to Laguna Seca. You are watching a battle for 6th place between George Britton, Thomas Torp, Joshua Leutz, and far off in the background is Stefan Overgaard. It looks a little bit more spread out than what it did when we went to break. Also on the GS side, Todd Henserenko and Patrick Beery got very close to a battle for 2nd, Kevin, but then it kind of broke up a bit again.
Yeah, it did a little bit, but that's just kind of a result of the leaders now catching up to the back of the ST field. So we're going to start to see that a little bit, and we can see it now that Patrick Berry got dropped a little bit by Todd Honzarenko again, about another half second. But now Honzarenko is being held up a little bit by the ST car, not Jarrett Lawson, excuse me, Bill Randleman, and you can see Honzarenko going right by right now.
Yeah, now on the ST side, Erton, Mora is still leading by 2.3 seconds over Freitas and has been pulling faster laps than Freitas, which surprises me a little bit because if Drow proved anything last year, he proved that this is his track, and right now Mora's trying to steal that title from him.
Yeah, at the moment, on track, Sergio Mora and Amjad Yaman are actually the two fastest guys. Amjad Yaman has actually reached right onto the back of João Freitas and has even pulled away from James Stevenson. So I think João Freitas and James Stevenson have fallen a little bit off the pace. They might be better at qualifying than actually that consistent race pace. But at the moment, Amjad Yaman is really charging, looking to try to make a passing maneuver in the next few laps.
Meanwhile, we just got a tweet come through on Twitter from driver Nicholas Bailey, who crashed out from 4th place in the GS class early on this race, saying that he had about 1.5 minutes of required repairs, 8.5 of optional, and so hopefully we'll see if he's able to return to the track soon. He's been sitting in his pit stall for a little while. It's a long race, so surely if he could get back out there, if a couple more drivers were to drop out, Nicholas Bailey would be able to pick off a couple of points, Kevin.
Yeah, I hope he is able to come back. He's having a great start to the season so far, sitting tied in 2nd. Hopefully this isn't going to be catastrophic for him, and he'll be able to come back and pick up some points, because really that top 10 in GS right now is just wide open with all the drivers.
Meanwhile, we ride on board Andred Yarmin going through the corkscrew, going down into turn number 9 now. Clipping the apex a bit better than Freitas, but Freitas able to pull away from him a bit at this part of the circuit. Now, I'm sure Yarmin's not too worried about being behind Freitas early on in these early stages, as he does drive a bit hard into turn 11 there, because he can still see the lead of a race, and still plenty of time to go. This is still any of these drivers' race up front.
Yeah, and the important thing is not to battle out too much in this race. This is a difficult track on its own, and preoccupying yourself with a battle with someone else just makes things more difficult. So probably a lot of these drivers just thinking about staying conservative and getting through the first half of this race, and then go through pit stops and then focus on actually racing for those positions. So just keeping in check is what's important on these guys' minds at the moment.
Well, we've seen the
Meanwhile,
leaders Go ahead, Samuel.
Go. You go ahead, Kevin.
Just going to say, we've seen the leaders in the GS field, Kimo Swaminen, Todd Honzarenko, and Patrick Berry. They've all started to split up due to catching traffic. But one group of drivers that has not split up is this battle for 6th in GS. That's Panu Paisanen, Andre Trago, Elliot Huffman, and Sean Vandergriff. And you can see Trago and Huffman Lundy getting almost side by side right there. So a little bit of action still. These guys have been close for the entire race so far, Samuel.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed is these street tuner cars that are off the pace for whatever reason, whether it be a bit of damage or just a bit of inexperience or dislike towards the track, have certainly been spicing the GS field up a little bit. Now, this pack that we see right here is catching up the lapped car of Bill Randleman, who's doing a solid job, actually. He's running just outside the top 10 in the street tuning class, despite going about to go a lap down to these guys here. But yeah, they're all still strung out, and one thing I've got to give these guys credit for so far, Kevin, they must have been doing their homework this week, because I haven't really seen anyone go off at turn 6 yet.
Well, I did catch Todd Honzarenko go off turn 6 a lap or 2 laps ago and nearly hooked it into the inside wall. He got big time loose when he came back on. But yeah, these guys know that turn 6, that's a killer. You've got to respect it. You've got to pay attention to it. And, you know, with a 2-hour race, it's probably a little better to dial it back into turn 6 and make sure that you're able to finish the race than to snap back into the wall and end it in a heartbeat.
Meanwhile, a little bit behind this, we're watching on camera right now, it's a big pack of, an even bigger pack of GS cars going around the lap test key car of Ed Verras right now. That is not Todd Honzarenko leading them, that is an identically painted car of Matthew Oak. And now you see them going side by side here with Jason Breifogel and James Alex Brown. Almost went side by side as they went on by the lap car there, but they all used their heads, Kevin, were able to get through there without incident.
And nice driving by Ed Verras to let them all go by and not screw up their race too much. So that was really, really heads up and well done. Unfortunately, it's left Ed Verras open for an attack by Hang Hao Tao, and it looks like Tao's going to make it happen there, Ayrton.
Yeah, it looks like those guys going side by side. Hang Hao Tao fell back a little bit at the start. He's managing to get back up, manages to get that position on Ed Verras. So good position for him. Hopefully he can catch back up to that top 10.
Meanwhile, battle in ST, Joshua Leutz and Stefan Overgaard are side by side, and Leutz loses it, runs out into the gravel. Stefan Overgaard got the position, and that started all the way back at the corkscrew. Patrick Beery was putting a lap on Joshua Leutz, and Joshua Leutz, as you watch here, they come up to the corkscrew, and Leutz just really what he should have done is just backed out before they ever got to the corkscrew, let Beery have the turn, but he didn't do that, and as a result, he gets out on the marbles, no grip out there, and then Stefan Overgaard says, hang on, I'll have a go under here, and Leutz takes a turn a little bit too hot, slides out into gravel, spot goes to Stefan.
And that was really lucky for Joshua Leutz, because on the exit of that turn 9, it's a little hidden, but right on the exit, if you go a little wide, there's a hole right on the side. And if you hit that hole, Ron, it will send your suspension really badly, and it really hurt the car.
And
so,
we've got a pass right now between Vandergriff and Huffman. Vandergriff got a good run out of turn 11 using Eric Smith as a pick. Took the inside into turn 2. Huffman had no choice but to back out of it, so that is a position change for 8th overall.
Yeah, I was watching that too. Just a very nice position pick off there by Sean Vandergriff in the pink number 2 car. Do you know why his car's pink, Kevin?
Well, he does have a nice little Save the Tatas bumper sticker on the hood, so I think maybe there's a connection there.
Yeah, racing for a good cause. Well, good on him. He's got it up into 8th place now. A name, honestly, I'm not too familiar with. Getting by Elliot Huffman, who is a veteran of the series, as they go by that notorious turn 6 and up to the corkscrew, which has honestly been catching a few more drivers out than I would have expected. You know that there's one thing that Urton just pointed out to me is that a lot of these paint schemes are a bit new, so we'll try and keep you updated on who's got what paint scheme today. But one of them on the ST side, and that caught me out, was our last season's champion, James Stevenson.
Yeah, I actually just updated my paint schemes and was surprised to see a nice purple and pink car right there. But definitely, James Steven actually almost had an accident with Amjad Yaman on the final corner. They got held up by lap car Andy Kokalava, and almost an accident between those two guys.
Oh, look at that! There's a GS car, a green GS car, just limping around the inside there of Danny Locke. He's got a lot of damage on the front of his car. I'm not sure if that was from a recent incident or from something that happened earlier. But might go back and have a look at that in a bit. Let's see, we're going to get...
Looks like he spun it on the exit of turn 3, did the same thing that Nicholas Bailey did, and nosed it straight into the wall on the exit. That is a heavy hit. I wouldn't be surprised to hear if he's out.
Yeah, Nicholas Bailey was on the sitting on the outside of turn 5. He had contact with the ST car of Tom Eckline, so he looks to be the cause of that caution right there.
Yeah, so we had 2 GS cars limping around. Nicholas Bailey had damage earlier in the race. Now this is really good news for Denny Locke, because of course he's on the lead lap. But he's obviously going to have to come into the pits and get repairs, Kevin. And it's going to be a matter of, is that a car that can be repaired and still run on the lead lap?
You know, I'm sorry, Sammy, but I'm taking a look at this incident between Eckline and Bailey, and it looks like Eckline actually got in his ST car, got into the back of Nicholas Bailey on the approach to turn 5. It's not often that we see an ST car wrecking a GS car. It's usually the other way around.
I have a feeling that's because of Bailey's damage was probably slowing him down a little bit. Not often, but not unheard of. We were watching live pictures right there of Denny Locke having even more trouble getting that Mustang around. We're 25 minutes into this 2-hour race, approaching the quarter distance mark right now. And this is our first caution of a race, which has already surpassed the amount of cautions we had here last season, Ayrton.
Yep, and definitely, I don't know if it'll make much difference because the top, at least in the ST side, the top 5 guys were keeping quite a similar distance from each other, and there wasn't really much going on. But in the mid-pack, there's quite a lot of action going on in the beginning of this race.
And something I've just noticed here, Kimmo Swarmanen has put James Stevenson, 4th place in Street Tuner class, a lap down. Is this going to put the top 3 ST cars a lap ahead of everyone else? Sergio Mora, Joao Freitas, Andre Yarman still on the lead lap. Because Kimmo Swarmanen is right behind the lead pace car right now, had not put Mora, Freitas and Yarmin a lap down. Now, I don't know how rules work in this series, if they're like NASCAR rules where you can take a wave around if a leader pits and you don't. But if that's the case, really, that's the only way I see Stevenson getting back on the lead lap here.
Samuel, I think you're right, but I think they will give wave buys to the ST cars that are a lap down to allow them to catch up. So I think after the yellow, we'll see the ST cars all back on the same lap.
Meanwhile, there's only one car coming down pit road. Only one of the lead cars. Lots of Mustangs following in. The leaders stay out though under this caution, Kevin. That surprises me a little bit as Patrick Beery, who was running 3rd, comes in, because they're not too far, about half an hour away from being forced to pit for a fuel stop.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the strategy is here. I kind of thought everybody would come in as well, but definitely looks like Beery's the only one in, so I think we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we'll update you on everybody's positions.
Welcome back to Laguna Seca, where our first round of pit stops have just taken place under the first caution. Summary of the race, basically the GS cars ran away from the ST cars obviously, but a few of the GS cars in the middle of the pack and even Nicholas Bailey at the front of the pack have already had misfortune, spun off, ran into each other and all that. Meanwhile, a much cleaner race on the Street Tuner side. It looked like for a moment that there might have only been 3 Street Tuner cars left on the lead lap after the Grand Sport cars began lapping them. That wasn't the case. They got the wave around. They're all back on the lead lap. But there's a bit of a mess up, I think, here from João Freitas, Tim, because it looked like he came into the pits a lap later than he should have, and it looks like he's lost a lot of spots to a couple of the Street Tuner leaders.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. Amjad Yaman also pitted, but João Freitas did it a lap later.
Oh, crash under caution! Han Ho Tao and Mike Main. I don't know what happened there. Exit in turn 2, Han Ho Tao came out of pit road and just collided with Mike Main. Look at this, he's coming out of a pits and kind of just turns right. I guess didn't check his mirrors. Oh no, Mike Main kind of came over into him a little bit there. Yeah, just they didn't expect each other, and a good job by the rest of the field getting around, but we just saw a collision under caution there, guys.
I'm staggered. The only thing I can guess is that Mike Main just wasn't quite aware that that Hang Ho Tao was exiting pit lane, and just never saw him. It's an easy thing to happen there with that pit lane exit. It can be difficult to realize that there's a car on your inside, and maybe that's just what happened there.
I've got to say that, yeah, here we are. Here's a blimp view. I'm wondering if our director could give us a replay from the blimp view, because technically Mike Main has the right of way because he's on the circuit, but at the same time, I think you're right, Kevin. I think he never knew that Han Ho Tao was there because he was all the way over on the left-hand side of the circuit.
Right, the GS cars are expected to be on the left side here at Laguna Seca to allow the wave buys, and you know, I'm going to go with it. I think that Mike Main and Hang Ho Tao, neither one of them had any idea that they were driving side by side to each other, and I guess both thought that the track was clear. That's a truly bizarre incident.
And into the pits now from, I believe he was running in second place of the Street Tuner cars. This is going to put him all the way back from the pack. This could be a bad mistake here by James Stevenson in the number 426 car, right in his pit stall right now, Ayrton.
Yeah, also Thomas Torp and George Britton are coming as well from the top 10. So at the moment, in the within the top 5, top 10, Sergio Mora is one of the few who has actually not pitted during this caution. So that might play very interestingly into the rest of the race when it comes to other pit stops later on.
Well, let's think about this. As the lights are off on the pace car, the Street Tuner Miatas get about 1 hour of fuel during the race. Obviously, it's going to be extended a little bit from this caution. However, we've still got 1 hour and 25 minutes left to go. In other words, they're all going to have to make one stop. So really what these drivers who are pitting now are doing is extending their pit window so that they can pit later if that turns out to be a strategic advantage and the Mustang pace lights are back on.
Yeah, if it comes to if there are no cautions for the rest of the race, then the guys who pitted just now will definitely have an advantage, because when it comes to their pit stop, not only will they be able to pit later, but they'll have to put in less fuel than the other drivers will that did not pit. So they technically will have an advantage.
And, you know, we haven't really talked about the GS field right now, but only 5 GS cars did not stop. That's Kimo Swalman, Todd Honsarenko, Panu Payson, Jason Lundy, and Matthew Oak. So the first of the GS cars that has stopped and gotten fuel and tires, that's Patrick Vieri. He's sitting in 5th. He was 3rd earlier. So I think he has made a great decision here by stopping early, because it shouldn't be too difficult for him to get by Matthew Oak and Jason Lundy and be able to challenge Panu Payson for 3rd right away. So I think Vieri's going to be sitting pretty when Kimo Swalman and Todd Honsarenko need to stop.
Pace car across the line and pace lights are off. 1 lap until we get going here. And just for the record, if anyone's keeping count, they are 21 laps into this event. And already, like I say, we've seen a lot of action on the GS side, but now it looks like it's going to be heating up in both divisions, with the field a little bit shuffled up. Because although Laguna Seca does have its overtaking opportunities, there's a lot of trust between the guy being passed and the guy passing about who has the right of way heading into a corner.
Yeah, and Laguna Seca is actually a very fun track to run side by side, but you definitely need a lot of trust. Not so much at the first section of the track, through 1, 2, and 3 in those corners, but definitely in corners like turn 6, which is very difficult to go side by side, and corners like the corkscrew, where you can get a very good run, but it's very difficult. You need a lot of trust with your with the other drivers, and it can always cause dangerous situations between drivers in that corner, especially the corkscrew. So for the restart here, we're going to have quite a few Mustangs between some of the top ST drivers, so that might cause a little bit of mixing up in the first few laps.
Well, the pace lights are back on, but I want to bring something else up, Kevin, while we have time to talk about it. I'm just taking a quick look here at the top 5 in the GS class in the points, and Patrick Breary really looks like, now that Nicholas Bailey is pretty much out of contention for the win at the least, he's really the only one of the top 5 cars here, I believe, in the points.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. He's the only top 5 in championship points who's in the top 10 in this race right now. Let's see, Elliot Huffman is 4th overall in the points, but Huffman is running 11th in class right now, so he's a little bit further back. So yeah, Patrick Berry is looking really sweet right now for this race on his strategy, I think, and because of that, he's looking like he's going to really take a strong hold over the overall championship. But again, we do have to kind of remind everybody that he's one of the few drivers to have actually run both races. So he does have a little bit of a points advantage there. Kimo Swamina did not run Daytona. Dan Rash did not run Sebring. Todd Honzarenko has not run either one. So those guys are probably banking on, taking those drop weeks that they have.
Yeah, that's what I was about. Tack on to the end there is we do have drop weeks, so remember that. Oh, always keep an eye on these cars coming out of pit road now. David Wamman, let's make sure he doesn't collide with the lead of our race. He doesn't, so he should get away by the pace car, get on the tail end of the lead lap, and hopefully this time we will go under green. Now, as for the ST side concerned, Ayrton, a lot different story. The top four in points, well, at least 3 of the top 5 in points, I believe, Yarmin, Overgaard, and Stevenson are here, and they all certainly have a chance for the win today.
Yeah, maybe not Overgaard. He's not having the best of races already today, but James Stevenson and Amjad Yarmin are definitely prime contenders for the win of this race. But also, just to mention that Sergio Morat and João Freitas, even though the reason why they're farther back in the standings is because both of them have only completed 1 race, and they actually scored the same amount of points in both of them. So they've both used their drop weeks, but this series allows 2 drop weeks within the season, so they still technically could be in contention for the championship, because it's a long championship and you have a lot more races to go.
Alright, now what's going on here? Because the pace lights are still off, and they're 3 turns away from going green, and David Wamand is running at the tail end of the lead lap in front of the Mustang field, and if they go green like this, it could get a little bit ugly heading into the first couple corners while the caution flag is shown again. They're going to try and sort it out.
Yeah, looks like the marshals accidentally allowed Amjad Yamin to go by Marco Mogren in the ST field, and I think they're trying to sort that out right now.
Yeah, a lot of it's not the easiest thing all the time to run the league on iRacing, and these guys do a very good job of it, giving us some spectacular races, but at the same time, just a bit of an extended caution flag here. But hopefully when we get back to green flag racing, they'll go a while before we see the next one. So, better make sure everyone's in their right position so that we can get some true racing when the green flag comes out here. So I believe the pace lights are off this time around again. We'll have a quick check at the front of the field, where Kimo Swaminen is still behind David Wamand, and now David Wamand has been told to remove himself to the rear of the field. Zakimo Swamanen will lead Todd Hensarenko, Panu Pessanen, Jason Lundy and Matthew Oak at the restart, but as Kevin noted, it will be Patrick Beery restarting in 6th position that we'll all be keeping our eyes on. Meanwhile, on the ST side, it's Sergio Mora, Marco Mogren will be restarting 2nd, then Amjad Yamin 3rd, João Freitas 4th, and Eric Smith in 5th, I believe, Ayrton.
Yep, I actually believe Marco Mogren will start behind. I don't think that was the reason for mixing up the order. Marco Mogren seemed to have let Amjad Yamin by according to iRacing regulations. I don't know if that has to do with the actual league or a penalty, though.
Yeah, it sounds like Mogren will be in front of Yamin on the restart here. We'll have to wait and check on that, because I believe there's still a couple of GS cars in between them right here. We're watching all this happen. You can see why this caution is a bit extended, because they're all over the place still as they're working their way through turn 6. It almost looks like 3 wide. Oh, kind of wish they were racing like this in the lap, but coming out of turn 6 it would be a bit messy. Pace lights are still off. Pace car going through turn 10. Race organisers, you have 5 seconds if you don't like what you see. Well, I guess they're happy with it, because the Mustang's pulling off, and Kimo Swamanen will be in control of the field again here. Is Todd Hensarenko going to try and get a run out of him on the final turn? It looks like he thought about it, but Kimo hasn't gone yet. The green flag has been thrown now. Here goes Todd Hensarenko. He's looking down the inside. Kimo trying to throw the block in him already. Todd goes to the outside. He's not going to be able to pull anything off heading into turn 1, Kevin, I don't think.
No, and it looks like Patrick Beery has made a move, and Panu Pessanen, I think, just got dropped with his internet connection.
No, but he came back and got tagged by one of the cars going into the first corner, and caution is out. Yeah, no, you were absolutely right, Kevin. He lost the connection, and then when he reappeared in the middle of the field, he got tagged by a car from behind. That's just something you wouldn't see in real life, I suppose, but on iRacing, it's basically like a mechanical failure. You can't see him here because he's lost the connection, and then when he appears right there, oh, oops, the car behind ran into him because he thought he'd gone for good.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was watching Patrick Beery, who got a nice little restart and moved himself up into 4th, but that was definitely helped by Panu just reappearing in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you know, is this going to affect strategy at all on the ST or the GS side? Because, honestly, these guys who pitted under caution, they've barely used any fuel at all since they're coming back out onto the circuit.
Well, I'm wondering if some of the drivers such as Sergio Mora or Marco Mogren might pit now that there's another caution after seeing all the other drivers pit, but I don't know.
Well, I'm sure they've all got to get bundled up behind the pace car here first. Kimo Swamanen leading them around the turn. So yeah, Patrick Beery restarted in 6th place. He's already up to 4th. He is our latest winner at Sebring, our points leader, and looking very solid in the points and the race right now, Kevin.
Indeed, like you said, like I was talking about earlier, I think Patrick Beery has nailed the strategy for the first part of this race and is looking pretty good, because Kimo Swamanen and Todd Hensarenko, they have to come into pit lane sooner or later, and Patrick Beery will jump them. So it's looking pretty good for him right now, I think.
Meanwhile, let's give you an update on the drivers that haven't had such a great race. Russell Clayton, I can't quite recall what happened to him. He is shown 6 laps down right now. And Danny Locke and Nicholas Bailey in the Mustangs were involved in incidents early on. They are pretty much out of contention as of right now. So that takes us from 41 cars down to really 38 cars running within a lap of a leader, which isn't too bad considering the amount of action we've seen early on here. Now I'm wondering if this will be a quickie caution or not, if the pace car lights will go off when they come around to complete this lap. And, you know, Todd Hensarenko, Kevin, has proven that he wants to try and take that lead from Kimo on the restart here.
Well, yeah, definitely. Todd had a better jump onto the throttle than Chemo did, and was looking a little aggressive and racy. But Chemo defended very quickly. I think that kind of caught Todd Hansrinkel by surprise because I saw his brake lights come on as he tried not to run into the back of Chemo Swaminen. But yeah, we'll see. Todd's looking very quick and smooth today, but Chemo, as usual, is also looking very fast and smooth.
And we know that Chemo is one of the cleaner racers. He tends to keep his wits about him when it comes to battling other drivers. I thought Patrick was going to go into the pits again for a moment right there. But by the way, I'm watching something on the chat right here. Are they black flagging Sergio Mora?
I believe, because I looked at the restart, and he was racing with some Mustangs. I think he was still given an EOL, was supposed to be behind the Mustangs, but was confused and raced with the Mustangs on the restart, and that gave him a black flag. So I think he's asking for a black flag clear.
And he's down pit road, and I don't see any other Miatas with him. So this is a bit of a strategy loss from Mora here, maybe, or it could be a strategy gain, depending on how the caution flags pan out. But it's certainly going to put him at the back right now.
Yeah, he's not taking any tires of any sort, so I think he's surfing his black flag. So I don't think any of the administrators were planning on clearing that for him. So not a lucky chance for Sergio Mora. He's dropping back to 13th place.
Yeah, no, it seems that I guess the other street tuner drivers were a little upset that he was trying to get a jump on them by remaining in front of all the Grand Sport cars, and Sergio just never listened to them and restarted in the middle of the field, and so they gave him a black flag. And honestly, though, I don't think this is going to hurt him as much as would have he had to have taken a black flag during green flag conditions. He wouldn't have been able to catch up like this.
Yeah, that definitely wouldn't have hurt him that much, so he should be a little thankful. He will have to work quite a bit harder to get back through this field now.
And meanwhile, Kevin's just pointed something out to me that there aren't any ST2 drivers in here, Kevin, one of the regular teams of the series.
Yep, Turn 2 did not show up at all to this race. No Steve Brown, no Arthur Chan, no Chris Moran, no Stefan Morian, nobody. So from their high winning 2 championships in one season, they're looking a little void and vacant today.
Now, do you think that could be because it's Laguna Seca? Maybe they thought that this would be a bit of a race of attrition and they didn't want to show up?
I think it's more that Chris Moran is a chicken and he convinced the rest of the team to not show up.
Well, we'll wait to see what Chris says about that after the broadcast. But also, speaking of chickens, it's Easter this weekend, so maybe they're off doing something for Easter as the pace lights are back on again. I suppose that means we have more cars down pit road. Yes, Stefan Overgaard and Joshua Leutz are in the pits. I think that's it, just 2 street tuner cars. Okay, Giancarlo asking me what does Easter have to do with chickens? A baby chicken is called a chick, and they come out of eggs, and eggs are given to you by bunnies or something like that. Anyway, so another 2 cars in the pits on the street tuner side, and so they're going to rejoin Sergio Mora at the back of the field here. You see them taking tyres right now. And, you know, if it's a caution field race to the end, 1 hour and 10 minutes, do you think it's a bit optimistic, Curtin, to say that if they had enough cautions, they could go to the end?
Maybe a little optimistic, especially since most of the ST field did pit in that earlier green, and that would allow them about 90 minutes. I'm not sure if they would be able to make it. I think it would be pretty close if they had a lot of cautions, though.
Well, at the rate this race is going, that could very well turn out to be the case as we ride on board one of the street turner cars here. Gonna have to go through the field and work out who that is. It is James Stevenson we are running on board, who is currently sitting 6th place in the street tuner class after all this is playing out. In fact, why don't we give you a rundown on the top 5 ST and GS cars right now? It's Kimo Swarmanen, Todd Hansarenko, Jason Lundy, Patrick Beery, and German Nafanador on the GS side. Andre Diamin, Marco Mogren, João Freitas, Eric Smith, and George Britton on the Street Tuner side. And Kevin, this name, Jason Lundy, is a bit new to me. Are you familiar with him being a Mustang driver?
I'm not sure if I ever actually raced with Jason, but he has been around in the Mustang community for a while. He's a solid Mustang driver. I have seen him run a little bit before. He's run in Conti a couple of times. So he's a good, solid driver. I think he's hitting a little bit above his weight right now, but that's probably because I think he's off cycle with the pit strategy. And it sounds like the lights have come back on again, so we have yet another yellow flag lap.
Yes, and Sergio Mora making most of it, come down into the pits because he's at the back anyway, put some tyres on that car and extra fuel, and like I was discussing with Ayrton a little bit ago, maybe with a street tuner car that means he could go to the end, although he doesn't take tyres. GS cars, Kevin, I'm pretty sure they can only do about 45 minutes on fuel.
Yeah, about 45 minutes, and the bigger problem I think is just the tires just go off so quickly, especially at Laguna Seca. So these guys are getting to the point where I think they're going to need to go in, get some fuel, and get some tires. It's going to be tough. You know, if we get another half-hour yellow flag session again, you know, these guys will only need one more stop. But yeah, this is getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah, well, David Wammond and Andy Kosilova, and I'm pretty sure I butchered his name there, in the Budweiser coloured number 429 Miata, just got the wave around, and that puts the 38 cars that are really left on in contention in this race back on the lead lap. So I guess that's one advantage of all these cautions, is that we should see some exciting close racing for position for the second half of this race, Ayrton.
Yeah, hopefully, at least if there's one thing that we know from races, that cautions breed cautions, and definitely with the order a little more mixed up, at least in the ST field, we should see a little bit more excitement with some of the drivers such as James Stevenson a little bit farther back from where he qualified. So hopefully it's pretty exciting.
Looks like Sergio Mora's upset with something else again on how this restart is going. I mean, he's going to be restarting at the back of the pack anyway, so I think he'd... has he been hit by someone or something? Sorry, we're under a bit of confusion here, wondering what's going on under this caution. There's a bit of chatter going on at the back of the field, but we can't really spot anything.
Yeah, I think the only thing we can safely say is that there are a bunch of ST drivers that are upset about various marshalling decisions. So we're not part of that chatter, so we can't really give too much feedback at this moment, other than to say that, hey, the lights are out on the pace car right now, maybe we'll go green this time by.
Hopefully, and Mora's taking tyres this time. And, I mean, worst comes to worst, Mora's going to restart at the back of the street tuner field. Track position, whatever happens, is not going to be his strong point on this next restart. But having tyres and fuel on that car is, which with 65 minutes in the race, could turn out to be a big deal, Ayrton. So we see Mora running out of pit road, and talking about fuel and Mora, let's not forget how close he came to winning Daytona before he ran out of fuel. Let's see, they're running up to the corkscrew this time. Pace lights are still off, and we have 65 minutes left of the race, right about approaching the halfway point. And I believe after the first caution they were about 20 laps in, now they're about 30 laps in. So yeah, unfortunately a lot of pacing going on, but hopefully the show after the caution laps here will be worth waiting for, and it'll be interesting, Kevin, seeing what kind of move Todd tries on the Kimo going down into turn 1.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Is Todd going to try and make a move here right away, or is he going to hold back and maybe wait to pass Kimo into in pit lane?
Well, pace car's finally off, so let's find out. Here they go. Todd's going to try and get around on him. Okay, green flag's out, and he's got nothing for him. Bad restart by Todd, and in fact he may have to go into defense mode. Jason Lundy in the orange car there, running on his rear bumper. Let's see what kind of pace Jason has up here. There's still single file in the top 4. It's 5th place there, side by side. They're 3 wide. Patrick going under the inside of Jason Lundy. Side by side, Graham and the Fanador and Brandon McIntyre, but they all get through it okay. Back to Ayrton for the ST restart.
Yeah, meanwhile, Marco Mogren making an opportunistic
We have a wreck.
move.
Crash! Around goes Graham and the Fanador in the middle of the field. Ploughed into. Patrick Beery has damage. Andre Trago has damage. Elliot Huffman has damage. You saw the start of that, Kevin?
Yeah, that was, it was Brendan McIntyre got into the back of German Fanador under braking for 3. The Fanador got into Bieri, and then chaos started.
And well, it took Ayrton about... There were 2 separate collisions going into that corner there from what it looked like on the replay. And it ended up being about a 7-car pile-up. We'll talk to Ayrton Ellis about the ST restart in a second here. We'll see if we get another replay of the 3S restart. If we go downstairs, maybe with this camera view. No, we're up ahead again. Yeah, just a bit of a chain reaction. These drivers all wanting to make the most of a restart. Like we say, all the positions a bit shuffled up because of the way pit stops have played out. And a couple of them just forgot how good their cars were at braking, I suppose, Kevin.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just a little speechless here. That's turn 3 is a really, really difficult place to make a pass, and would have liked to see the guys be a little more conservative, especially after almost 15 laps of yellow flags. So it sounds like we're going to go to break. We got the music playing, and we'll come back to you in a few minutes.
We are back underway here at Laguna Seca. We'll get out of replay mode in just a second here and get back up to the front of the field. It has been a clean restart this time with Kimo Swarmanen leading Todd Henserenko around. And once again, apologies about the slight bit of delay there. Back to Ayrton for the ST start.
Marco Mogren, for the first time, is now leading the way. He managed to get ahead of Amjad Yaman before the caution flag flew in the previous restart. So he had a really good run. He's now in first place with Amjad Yaman, João Freitas, George Britton, and James Stevenson following right behind.
And Yaman looks like he wants to make a move. Back to you, Kevin.
In GS field, we had Brendan McIntyre get around Jason Lundy into turn 2. Also, we had Patrick Berry and Elliot Huffman also both get around Matthew Oak for 5th and 6th overall.
Yeah, 7-car pretty much pile up on the previous restart. Much cleaner, this restart as we continue to watch the battle for the lead on ST. And, okay, and as I say that, we switch over to Patrick Berry, who honestly, despite being involved in the wreck, Kevin, it looks like Patrick got away okay.
Yeah, it looks like Patrick Berry's trusted that the car feels okay. He does have damage on the right front, but maybe that's just cosmetic. Fortunately, it shouldn't matter too much. There's not a big draft here at Laguna Seca. It'd be nice to have the aero you have, as much aero speed as you can get because of these big boxy cars. But I think Berry's probably quick enough that he can be able to work around that.
Yamin challenged Mogren for first position there a little bit, and Mogren got a bad exit out of turn 11. Yamin might try taking him for the lead here, Ayrton.
Yeah, it looks like Mogren is going to defend the inside line. Amjad's going to have to try to late brake on that outside line. He gets to use the extra bit of the track. Brakes really late. They go side by side into turn 1, and is now drops back a little farther back. Amjad Yaman tucks in behind. This is allowing a huge train to form right behind these guys.
Battle continues as they go through here. Mogren runs away a little bit, but another mistake, and Yamin can certainly get him. But I'll tell you what, Mogren playing up front with the big boys right now, Ayrton, and he's doing a pretty darn good job.
Yeah, he seems to really show the pace here today. He qualified 7th place, which is pretty good for him, considering that he's normally just struggling to get into the top 10. So really good run for him so far. He's doing really well.
And Kevin will battle in for us if the GS battle picks up front. Less than half a second between the top 2 cars here. Here comes Mogren up to the corkscrew as we ride on board James Stevenson in 5th place. That is George Britton you see in front of him. And it really is just about a 6-car train of the street tuner cars here. Mogren able to keep it clean so far. A bit more of a gap between him and Yamin this time around than what there was last lap, Ayrton.
Yeah, Amjad Yaman is looking a little impatient, trying to look anywhere he can to get around Marco Mogren, and that's really allowing him to slow down a little bit and allow João Freitas to make some maneuvers around him. So he's like losing time while being stuck behind Marco Mogren, and that's allowing all these guys to catch up behind them. So Amjad Yaman has to be a little careful with these maneuvers to not lose too much time.
And while they remain single file like this for now, we'll come back up here in a second. We should drop back a bit farther in the pack. Sergio Mora, we think we understand why he was a bit upset now. He was thinking that he was allowed to make it clear his black flag with a pit stop under the caution. But I think he had to do it under green, but never mind that because we got battle for the lead again. Yaman poking his nose out on the outside, but he's lost a lot of time there, Ayrton. It looks like Freitas may even try and make a move for second.
Yeah, Freitas on the outside now. Amjad Yaman's going to have to defend. Freitas looking to break a little bit. Looks to try to maybe make a crossover, but to not quite get the exit. Meanwhile, a little bit behind them, James Stevenson did get past George Britton for that 4th place position. He's going to look to catch up back to these top 4 guys, which he was battling with earlier on, besides Sergio Mora, who did have his black flag, as you mentioned. But Amjad Yaman getting a little bad run out of turn 6, letting João Freitas catch up a little bit to him, but they continue to go single file.
And we do have a top 5 position change in GS. Patrick Fieri has gotten around Jason Lundy after Lundy went wide on the exit of turn 6. Wasn't much to it. Patrick Fieri had nailed turn 6 and Lundy had nothing to do. So Fieri is hot on the heels of Brendan McIntyre right now, looking to get that 3rd place position.
Yeah, and something else I wanted to make of note, actually I can't quite remember what it is right now. Something I will make of note right now, though, is that James Stevenson is right on the tail end of Freitas for third place as these ST positions continue to switch around, but backs off of him a little bit.
Samuel, I got to jump in. I'm sorry, I just caught on replay. Jason Breifogel and Anthony Woodward got into each other side by side into turn 11. Looks like Breifogel got into a wall.
And there's a crash right now. There's a GS car spinning off coming out of turn 4. Not quite sure who that was. I think Breifogel may have been involved. It's Mike Main. Mike Main, whose car is looking a little bit worse for wear. I think he was getting lapped by them, and they side slammed coming out of turn 3 there. Mike Main paid the price, but his car's going around okay right now. He's still on course.
Yeah, that was James Brown on the inside of Mike Main. James got a little sideways in the middle of the corner and hooked it right into Mike Main, and Main off onto the inside, lucky not to hit the wall. But I imagine Main's car is looking pretty bad right now, and I'm sure he's not going to be happy about that one.
Now we're going back to live pictures here right now as we watch Mike Main limping that Mustang around the circuit. It looks like it's handling okay if he just doesn't make any mistakes, but you can see him just getting a bit of a wobble there, and the lapped car, the ST car of Joshua Leutz, I believe that is, kind of, I'm sure, just hoping that Mike Main wobbles a bit more and he can get by and away from this triple Mustang. Because Mike Main looks to be staying out on course, seems to be pretty happy with handling, I suppose. But look at the trainer, it's going to start stacking up behind him.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that. Looks like Main's car is, it looks like it's twitching all over the place to me. I think I would have pulled that into pit lane.
And around goes John Ehlers. No, he doesn't. A bit of contact onto the rear quarter panel, able to save it. He's losing positions in the gravel right now. But that almost had the looks of disaster. Pretty much same turn, almost the same mistake, but he didn't have any car on the inside of him to stop him from hitting the wall. Fortunately, he gets it sideways and then just drifts it across the circuit, able to use the wall kind of to save that car and get it back out onto the circuit. It loses a couple of spots in doing so, though. Was running 10th, now down to 13th. Back to you, Kevin.
Yeah, sorry, Samuel. I'm just kind of watching this battle between Brendan McIntyre and Patrick Berry, and Berry's going into pit lane. Not really sure what for, unless it's to just get some fuel and tires and finish out the race on the final stint. I think that may be what it is, and maybe to get around McIntyre. I wonder if he felt like he was being slowed up by Brendan.
Yeah, 50 minutes left, and let's not also forget that those are two cars that were involved in our latest incident, yet they're still running up there. They were running up there in 3rd and 4th place, which means they seem to be quite content with the handling of their cars, but maybe if they come down and get that damage fixed, it might make them just that bit quicker.
Yeah, I hope that's what Berry's going for. It's a little bizarre to me right now to think that we have one driver, Patrick Berry, who will have served all the stops he needs to make in this race, and we have two drivers, Kimo Swaminaden and Todd Honzarenko, who are yet to stop. So strategies are a little peculiar right now.
Joshua Leutz getting a bit upset with something going on the track out there, and that's resulted in Sergio Mora running him down for 7th place. I think we may have been mistaken a little bit, because Mora has not made the green flag pit stop, but yet it doesn't look like he's in a hurry to come back down pit road. So maybe that's all he needed to do was serve his black flag under caution, Ayrton.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about the Sergio Mora situation, but another thing we should note is that our leader at the moment, Marco Mogren, he has actually not pitted out of the top 10 drivers in the ST field, so he's going to have to come in sooner or later, and I'm sure he's really close to that point where he needs to pit. He did save a lot of fuel during those cautions, but unlike the guys behind him, he really is probably pretty low in fuel.
Yeah, but don't you believe they all have to pit at least one more time? This could play out to being more of a strategy if he makes his final pit stop before the rest of them, especially if a caution comes and bunches them all up again.
Yeah, but the drivers behind him are going to have to take less fuel than he does, since he's going to have to take a full tank, while the other guys probably saved a lot more fuel, and since they pitted a little later, they're going to have to take in less fuel. Probably going to have a shorter pit stop as well, so that might not play in his hands, as James Stevenson actually goes into pits right now, as well as George Britton.
Probably taking what I just mentioned a moment ago, probably thinking, hey, we can make it to the end from here, let's pit. If another caution comes out, and it probably would at what rate this race has been going, we'll be right behind the pace car. Meanwhile, Kevin, there's a battle for the lead in GS.
Yeah, this is a fantastic battle that I'm watching between Kimo Swammelen and Todd Honzarenko. Both these guys are just dialed in right now and run incredibly clean laps. You see Todd very close to Kimo on the inside at turn 9. Todd's definitely taking a look, but no, he backs out. That is an incredible place to poke your nose in.
And look at the lap test T cars in front of them. That could play into effect. David Whammond, and down into the pits come the GS leaders.
And that definitely caught Todd Honzarenko by surprise. Kimo ducked in. Todd was already moving to run the normal line and decided, hey, if Kimo's going in, I'm coming in as well. So this battle is going to continue through pit lane. Wonder who's going to come out first.
Well, that's certainly what we've got to be keeping an eye on. While we're keeping an eye on that, let's talk about the latest incident. It looks like Andre Trago and German Afanador were the big losers of that pile-up that you saw 2 restarts ago. They are now 2 and 4 laps down respectively. Anyhow, the GS cars are in the pits. Which one of them is going to get out first? Kimo Swammelen in the purple, white and black car taking 4 tyres. Todd Honzarenko, I don't think he's taken any, Kevin.
Yeah, I haven't seen his car go up on Jackson. No, Todd Honzarenko is out first. So I think maybe Todd decided that his tires are good enough. But you know what? Maybe he did get tires. I'm not really sure. That sometimes we get that with iRacing where we don't actually see if a driver's gotten tires or not. I'm inclined to think right now that Todd Honzarenko did not get tires. And he spun out the pit lane exit.
Yeah, he got wide, and Kimo just able to get out in front of a huge pack of cars, including Philip Carpenter and Patrick Beery right there. So Beery is right on the rear bumper of Kimo Swammelen.
Well, like I said, I thought Patrick Beery had the strategy in his sights right now, but what a bizarre way to have this shake out. Honzarenko jumps Kimo Swammelen in pit lane, goes just a fraction too hot on that very difficult pit lane exit, and spins the car. Fortunately, he did get it gathered up, and he's only about, looks like about 6 seconds behind Kimo Swammelen, so he may be able to close that gap, but I bet you he's kicking himself right now.
And on the ST side, Urton, it looks like Mogren's in the pits.
Yeah, and Mogren just finished his pit stop, and I was watching James Stevenson and George Britton, and they both went very far by. James Stevenson is in turn free, as Marco Mogren is still on the pit exit, so he lost a lot of time, and as I said before, he had a lot more fuel to put into that car, so his pit stop really took a lot more time, and he's going to lose a lot of positions now as it all cycles through.
Joshua Leutz also in the pits, and he was able to really jump Marco Mogren there. I'm not sure, did Mogren have a really slow stop?
No, Josh Leutz pitted on the most recent caution, so he had a lot less fuel to put in.
Yeah, I'm seeing it here. It says that Joshua Leutz was stationary for 19.5 seconds, Mogren 43.7. Not entirely sure how accurate that is, but yeah, Mogren's certainly going to have his work cut out for him if he wants to get some positions back. Although I have a feeling actually Leutz is about a lap down to Mogren. That's why we see him in front. I don't know. We'll catch up on that.
Well, let's update you.
Look at this battle going in front of Mogren. Angel Tao, Ed Varas, George Britton. You could throw a blanket over these 4 cars right here.
And half these guys have actually not pitted, while the other half have. I think George Britton and George Britton has pitted while the rest of these guys have not. So George Britton is trying to get through lap traffic now, as he came out of pits with James Stevenson a couple laps earlier. Amjad Yaman also went into the pits, and if you actually look at the standings now, Sergio Mora is listed in second. He's managed to work himself quite a bit farther up, but he is also 13 seconds behind the leader, João Freitas.
Back to you. You had something on the GS side, Kevin?
Well, we did get a pass by Tadon Zarenko on Philip Carpenter. That's for 13th overall. I just kind of wanted to point out just the weirdness that we've got going on with strategies and our overall leaders. We've got Brendan McIntyre is our leader. Elliot Huffman in his second. Jason Lundy just ducked into pit lane, dropping third. Arthur Hermant is the effective third place. Phil Schrader fourth. Tim Brokaw just jumped into pit lane as well. So now Anthony Woodward is in fifth overall. These are guys that we weren't expecting to see in the top 5, yet there they are.
And Matthew Oak, one of the tail-end ST riders, has just lost the connection. We'll wait to see if he comes back, but certainly unfortunate for him. So yeah, still a lot going on strategy-wise as pit stops. The cars who are pitting right now can make it to the end. You see João Freitas in his pit stall in the number 346 car. And so he'll be making his stop there, and I believe that puts Mora into the lead.
It's actually...
Go ahead, Ayrton.
I just mentioned there's a battle between Amjad Yam and James Stevenson. James Stevenson came out, Amjad Yaman came out in front of James Stevenson. James Stevenson just made a pass out of turn 10 on Amjad Yaman and managed to get that position, so that's going to cycle through. I wonder if these guys are actually going to come out around the time of João Freitas. João Freitas is on his pit exit right now as they're going into turn 1.
Freitas far in front of him, and he's going to be alongside Eric Smith here. That would be for position. So yeah, Freitas has beaten all of those. Really, the big question I think right now, Ayrton, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, is can Mora make it to the end?
I'm not sure. He did keep on pitting during that caution before he had his black flag. He kept on pitting. I'm assuming that he kept on topping up on fuel so he could go as long as he could. So that might be a little tricky as up his sleeve. He might be trying to go to the end and saving fuel.
Alright, it looks like pit stops have settled down in the top 5 of GS, Kevin. Do you want to give us a rundown on the situation there?
Will do. All right, so overall we have Brendan McIntyre in the lead. He's led 4 laps. Second is Elliot Huffman. He's about 10.5 seconds behind Brendan McIntyre. Third is Arthur Hermant. He's another 5 seconds back. Fourth, Phil Schrader, who's about 2 seconds back. Fifth is Anthony Woodward, 3 seconds back. And right behind him is Braith Morrow, about a half second back. So those are your top 6 in GS field. And then you have our our former leader, Kimmo Suominen, 7th place and moving forward very quickly right now.
How many of the leaders do you think will have to pit again?
I think everybody in front of Kimmo Suominen has to stop.
Alright, and Kimmo Suominen is 27s back of Brandon McIntyre, and I can tell you that is not enough for Brandon to pit and come back out in the lead. So we'll have to wait and see if Brandon can use his clean traffic and clean air, although there's not a heck of a lot of it around this track with all the lapped cars around, to gap Kimmo, make that 27s a bit larger. And also, Kimmo could be losing out by having to pass GS cars for positions and closing 40 minutes of this race. Meanwhile, we've still got this battle going on between James Stevenson and Amjad Yamin that you have had the pleasure of watching while we've been trying to figure out this strategy. But Yamin doesn't look like he's in a hurry to make a move, and I'm pretty sure he knows that Stevenson's a fast driver. Maybe it's not such a bad idea to just keep following him for now.
Well, actually, surprisingly, Amjad Yaman has been staying very closely to James Stevenson's bumper, so I think he might be in a bit of a hurry to get past. I think he's pretty confident that he has better speed, and just showing from the previous races at the first 2 races of this season, he really has shown that he has the pace of James Stevenson. And I've talked to him myself. He's my teammate, and he feels confident that he has the pace to beat James. So I don't think he's afraid to make a move anytime soon.
Meanwhile, Matthew Oak has not returned to the race, so I'm pretty sure he is done. Top 5s as they stand in ST. We've got Sergio Mora leading, Bill Randleman, Stefan Overgaard, João Freitas and Eric Smith in the top 5 before you get back to this battle for 6 between Stevenson and Yamin. Now the question we all have on the Street Touring side is how many of those top 5 can make it on fuel, because they can go a lot longer than the Mustangs can, And as and then I discussed a moment ago, the honest answer is we don't know. Honestly, if it might be one of those situations where caution will let them make it to the end, but green flag race won't.
Well, I think if a caution comes out, then especially since the field will get bunched up, those drivers will have to pit because they are going to have the threat of the drivers who have pitted, such as Joao Freitas, James Stevenson, Amjad Yaman, right on them. So it could play to their advantage. I imagine that some of these guys might try to save fuel and run consistently, not very fast.
Here goes Yaman. He's down the inside of Stevenson in turn 5. You're watching it right now. The Bada GS car pulls over to the side there, side by side. Turn 6 doesn't work, and they make contact. And Yaman spins Stevenson, and a GS car tries to dodge, misses him, and goes into the wall. That was not Yaman-like. And that's Andre Trago, was a GS car who tried to go on the outside and into the wall. I was very surprised, Ayrton, to see Yaman make a move that aggressive, or was that Stevenson's fault for not backing out? Did Yaman have the corner?
Well, actually, I think that played out all the way entering turn 5. Those guys were side by side. I think both of them equally had the corner, but the actual causal contact was actually ghost contact between the two cars. I don't think either driver moved into each other. It was just ghost contact, and turn 6 is a difficult corner to pass anyway, so it was a risky maneuver, and obviously the big loser of that was James Stevenson.
Absolutely. We're gonna get another replay of it from onboard. Let's see, you're not gonna see a whole lot from onboard Yaman, I think, because Stevenson was alongside him. Yeah, I don't know. Yaman will say it's ghost contact. I'm pretty sure Stevenson will have different thoughts.
Yeah, hopefully that didn't cause too much damage because it hit right on the side of Stevenson's car where it could cause suspension damage, but Joshua Lloyds, another driver, is asking him if he has damage. I'm not sure what he responded, though.
Well, meanwhile, up in the front of the GS field, Kimmo Suominen, our brave little toaster, has managed to work his way up into 4th place, just passing Anthony Woodward about a lap ago. A couple of drivers did stop that I suspected they would do, but right now our overall is Brendan McIntyre, Elliot Huffman, Phil Schrader, Kimmo Suominen, and Anthony Woodward. Samuel?
Yep. Yeah, and now on the ST side, obviously not a whole lot different up front, because that battle we saw was a battle for 6. Meanwhile, I will note, Yaman is still in 6th and Stevenson is still in 7th, but obviously a much bigger gap between them now. And Freitas has got by Eric Smith for 4th place, certain, but he's 17 seconds back of Mora, 7 seconds back of Randleman. I think he should be able to run him down, but as we say, pit stops could still come into play and shake all that up.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely, I think Joao Freitas has been closing in very slightly on these guys ahead.
Now I want to look back at Patrick Bierry and Todd Honsarenko. Honsarenko has caught up to Patrick Bierry, who is struggling to get around the 0.8 of Braith Morrow. Bierry's a little quicker, but just can't seem to make it happen right now. They've been dealing with a lot of ST traffic that's kind of stacked things up, and there is another ST car up in front of Bierry and Morrow. That's Thomas Torp, who might just cause a little bit of chaos as they are under braking into turn 2, but looks like Bierry's under attack by Honsarenko. Honsarenko sneaks inside, they barely touch, and Honsarenko takes that position over.
Very exciting battling here at the front of the GS field, what essentially will be the front of the GS field, although Kimmo Suominen has run several seconds in front of these guys right now. And yeah, this is a train that starts all the way with Phil Schrader in the GS car. We got about 3-4 ST cars in front of them, so these drivers are going to have their work cut out. They're coming up to Braith Morrow right now, who I believe still has to make another pit stop. Todd Honsarenko trying to go down the inside of turn 6. We saw that work not too well a little bit ago, but he does it well. And Patrick Bierry might be able to carry his momentum and pass brace up the hill, and that is indeed what will happen. They'll be single file before they ever get to the corkscrew, but it is far from over. They got the battered car of Anthony Woodward in front of them. They got the lap cars of Jared Lawson falling back between them. And if these guys can get around another lap or two here without any incident, hopefully for them, the things should clear up a little bit.
And Todd Hontarenko had a big scary moment when Lawson didn't realize Hontarenko was into his inside. Lawson moved to the left, and Hontarenko went very wide on the Rahal straight, actually got into the dirt, and then Hontarenko into turn 11, very deep. I think he was trying to set up Anthony Woodward, but it didn't work out too well, except that now Hontarenko does definitely have a very good run on the outside. I think this is going to be all Hontarenko into turn 2, except no, Woodward's fighting back. Woodward's got the better braking, and he's got the inside line, and he's going to hold off and defend that position.
Meanwhile, one of the other GS cars who was running up front, who had not pit yet, has been down pit road. That was Phil Schrader, I believe, is currently stationary in his pit stall. But yeah, Todd Hontarenko has certainly been able to gap Patrick Beery right now, but they are still far behind Kimmo Swamin, about 7 seconds.
Exactly, about 7.5 seconds is the gap between Kimmo Swamin in third and Todd Hontarenko in fourth. Patrick Beery is about another 2 seconds behind Hontarenko. Hontarenko is really moving right now through traffic. Beery struggling a little bit more, so I'm not sure if that's tires or the damage that Beery's having right now. But Kimmo Swamin is the driver on the move right now. Todd Hontarenko is desperately trying to make up that gap, but that he lost ever since he spun on the pit lane exit.
Talking about spinning around pit lane exit, Tim Brokaw just overshot the first corner and backed into the wall, but is back out on circuit, and I don't see too much damage on this car, so just a bit of a scare for Tim there, and we continue as normal. Well, meanwhile, it looks like not a whole lot of train trap on the front on the ST side, although someone must have pit, because it's telling me now Freitas is up into third. Behind Mora, and Randleman is only 5 seconds up the road from him.
Yep, Stefan Overgaard just came into pits. Besides that, there really hasn't been much action going on. In fact, the closest battle is probably between Jarrett Lawson and Marco Mogren for the 10th place position.
And I'm getting word here of a battle between Stefan Overgaard and Joshua Leutz for the, what would that? That would be about the 9th place position. So we're having a bit of a train going there. Let's see if we can pick that up on camera. We got Jared Lawson here on camera here. And here we are. You can see a lot of traffic around this section of a track. And that just kind of happens with these endurance races. You get areas of a circuit where there's absolutely no cars on. And you get areas of a circuit where it just becomes a cluster. And that's when these drivers really have to keep their wits up about them.
Yeah, probably the most difficult part about endurance racing is that multi-class aspect where there is a lot of traffic. We've seen lots of accidents in this series between different classes, so it's not uncommon to have two classes hit one another at certain parts during the race. It could be back markers or it could be leaders, as we've seen in the past. But yep, for this battle, it's now creating train. Stefan Overgaard is right behind Joshua Leutz. Then right behind those is Marco Mogren, Jarrett Lawson, and Thomas Torp. So all these guys are really close together after the pit stop cycle. And it's probably going to turn into quite a good battle for that 8th place position.
It looks like right now, as far as the front runners are concerned, it's a bit of a pit strategy battle. Can these drivers make it to the end of fuel or not? And my guess is that the drivers such as Mora, Randleman, and on the GS side, McIntyre and Huffman would not be able to make it to the end of the race if there were 0 or maybe even 1 caution. But if it did get that yellow flag feel to it, potentially they could all make it to the end. But we'd need a caution pretty quickly. And honestly, with I mean, although there is a bit of activity here, everyone seems to be keeping their wits about them now, knowing that the first half of this race was a bit more on the destructive side, Kevin.
Yeah, definitely it was more on the destructive side. A lot of GS cars with damage all over. Kind of a little bit like Sebring and Daytona to start off with. Guys are struggling to make sure they're running clean, but that's part of the flip side of this, of having so many competitive drivers in this series.
Meanwhile, I'm watching a battle for, I believe this is a battle for 8th place. We were watching in ST before with Joshua Leutz, a couple car lengths in front of Stefan Overgaard, and he runs off and it's going to spin in front of Overgaard, takes Overgaard out. And by both of them goes Marco Mogren, and the caution flies. Joshua Leutz got his wheels off, exiting turn 6. Usually on a normal day that would be an honest mistake, but he just never lifted off the gas really, or just as we watch the replay we see a GS car going off behind them. Watch it, it looks like just an innocent mistake here for about the first 50 yards, and then he just loses it, and Overgaard's like, uh-oh, and gets sideswiped, and that was a three-way battle gone south there. And now this changes everything, because the leaders obviously are going to have to pit. They're going to be sent to the back. Now, do you think, Erden, we're going to see drivers such as João Freitas and Amjad Yamin coming into the pits for tires?
No, I don't think so. I think with this tire model at the moment, the MX-5 doesn't suffer too much from tires. In fact, it actually runs very well on the long run on tires. I think these guys, it would be too risky to take tires with only about 30 minutes left from these guys. But I'm also thinking with Sergio Moore and Bill Randleman, if they're trying to save fuel that whole time and go to the end, this caution, in fact, is probably going to help them. And they're probably going to stay out and try to keep the position that they have at the moment and try to lead from here.
Very possible, but I don't foresee that happening on the GS side, Kevin.
Yeah, well, no, I don't think there's going to be many guys trying to save fuel in GS. I do think that McIntyre and Huffman, our first and second place cars in GS, do have to come in and serve a stop. We'll have to... Yep, McIntyre is coming into pit lane right now.
Freitas stays out on ST. Huffman is in. Eric Smith is in. He may have not been able to make it to the end on fuel. Let's see. It looks like all the rest of tail enders coming in. So yeah, pretty much what we expected. Eric Smith comes in on the ST side, but did Randleman and Mora stay out?
Randleman came in. Sergio Moore decided to stay out.
Well, that could be interesting, but not too surprising. He might need another caution, in my opinion, to make it to the end, but cautions be cautions, and we got one. Who says we can't have a second one? We certainly did earlier.
I mean, we know that Sergio Mora does have the pace, and he's probably one of the fastest guys in this field. The problem that he had earlier was that black flag, so if he tries to stay out here and thinks that he can make it on fuel, he definitely can probably contend for the win, as long as he can try to defend.
Yeah, it is very possible, but like we say at Daytona, he was pretty much less than half a mile away from winning there before he ran out of fuel, so he's certainly driving his winning to push it to the end. And I've got to wonder, Kevin, do you think these drivers are taking more chances, trying to fight for the win a little bit more often than they normally would, considering that it is just one season per year now, as opposed to about 2 or 3 seasons per year that we had in 2013?
You know, I think it's just more that we're still seeing kind of the early season shenanigans that we've seen in the past, where drivers are still kind of feeling each other out, understanding traffic, and how it plays together. And you know, these are the biggest entry lists we've seen in several seasons. So we're not really used to seeing 23 GS cars and 20 ST cars in one race. So it's a lot more drivers around. Guys are still trying to get used to each other. So I think that's what we're seeing more than anything else.
Now I'm wondering if either of you could explain to us, and to me a little bit better at the least, about how reservations work for this series, because I know we had a bit of an issue at Sebring where some drivers who are normally up there being top point scorers got into the race, and some drivers who were kind of just there having fun and running at the back of the field a little bit more, it took their spots. Has there been a change in policy on CESCS's side to kind of fix that?
Well, I can kind of jump in. There's been traditionally for the first round, there's been a pre-qualifier that they've had where newcomers have to kind of prove to show up that they can run the series. Veterans and the clean drivers are guaranteed a spot into the first round at Daytona. Sebring was a little bit of an oddity where basically every single spot in the race was taken up within about 5 minutes. A lot of drivers were locked out and not able to run the race. So this week what instead they did is they tried to run a little bit of a reservation where guys who reserved kind of got the spot first, and then it was opened up to anybody else that didn't reserve. But either way, we still have a packed house. And if this is the way the trend is going to go, we're going to keep seeing it throughout the season.
Race off pit road right now. Mora has came into his pits and Freitas is wellying it down the front straight, trying to beat him out. I'm not sure, has Mora already gone by the commitment cone? Is it Mora's for the taken? How does this work, Ayrton, on the regular day?
Yeah, I think, Mora went across the line first, so I think he actually was able to defend that position, and if that's the case, then really well played by Sergio Mora to manage to run that lawn and get that position.
Yeah, and now this is certainly going to spice things up, both on the GS and the ST side. Now, finally, once again, for the first time since about the start of a race, we have the big hitter names at the front of the field. Just listen to these top three on the GS side: Arkimo Swarmanen, Todd Hensarenko, and Patrick Beery. In fact, I'm going to go back. Kimo Swarmanen, that's the way in which they started the race, Kevin.
Yep, that's the way they started. That's the way they've run most of this race. And even though there's been some shenanigans amongst the three and how they shook up in the order, and all three were basically running at the back of the GS field for a while, but now they're back up in the lead. Patrick Bieri's great strategy call earlier off has not paid out for him, unfortunately. However, he is still sitting behind Kimo and Todd, so with a little bit of luck for Bieri, he might be able to make something happen.
Very possible. And Ayrton, on the SE side, it looks like we as Mora will be leading Freitas, Yarmin and Stevenson on this restart. And do you think Stevenson's going to have a bit of bad blood for Yarmin here?
Possibly. I mean, I know Stevenson can get a little hot-headed when things don't go his way, and he can be a very aggressive driver as well, so I don't think he'll be afraid to stick his nose in these closing laps of this race.
You see that the field is still a bit mixed up. The lights are back on the pace car. They're trying to get everything sorted out. And obviously now, unlike the start of a race when we had that super long back-to-back set of cautions, every lap is going to count, because every lap under the pace car takes about 2 minutes around here. And we've got about 20 minutes left when they cross the line, so each pace lap could really dwindle down the amount of green flag laps that we have left at the end of this race. But there's one thing for sure, I'm pretty sure every car's going to be able to make it to the end of the race on fuel now, Kevin.
Yeah, I agree with you, Samuel. Everybody should be able to make it. If they can't, then they should have served their pit stop earlier, and if they didn't serve their pit stop in this yellow, then we can't help them. That's just kind of bad strategy. But should be a complete race right now to the checker flag, so hopefully we'll just see a green flag run.
Now you saw the Todd Hensarenko looking car go by the pace car right there. That was Matthew Oak, who lost the connection earlier. He has returned to the race, but he is sitting several laps down. 8 laps down in total. So yeah, he's going to have to hope for a big pile up on the restart, which we've seen before, but we hope it doesn't happen again.
Even a big pile-up, unfortunately, won't help Matthew Oak. He's just too many laps behind. And we're hearing from our director that sounds like Matthew Oak had a blue screen of death earlier, a huge computer failure, so that's probably explains why he's so many laps down.
Pace lights are off, but you can see the first car behind the pace car, as he was earlier actually, is David Whammond, so they're either going to have to give David the wave around here or tell him to go to the tail end of a line. Let's see, he is 2 laps down, so I have a feeling they're going to give him a wave around. But they're not in a hurry to do it, that's for sure. Because I'm checking the pace car, the lights are still off, and their race control is discussing Whammon's situation with him right now, and hopefully we'll be able to get the green flag this time by. And nope, the caution lights are back on. So, that is going to take us down to at least 16 minutes left to go at the very most when we restart this race, which isn't going to leave a whole lot of time for racing. And we saw early in the race, Todd Denserenko is not afraid to try and battle Chemo into the first turn. And Patrick Beery, though, on the GS side, Kevin, looks like to have had the best restarts of anyone on the GS side today.
Yeah, Patrick has had some great restarts, picking off a few people here and there. I'm concerned about the damage that he has on the front end of his car, if he's going to be able to carry the same speed that Kivo and Todd Honsarenko are able to carry into the corners. That's yet to be determined. It seems like Patrick struggled a little bit when he and Todd Honsarenko were near each other, but that could have been entirely due to dealing with the lapped ST traffic that they had around them.
Now there's a little bit of a discussion going on the ST side here again. I think they've waved Ralph Freitas around the pace car, and he shouldn't have been. It looks like he's like a lap ahead of everyone else, and he's meant to be in second position behind Sergio Mora.
Yeah, we're showing Joao is the overall leader right now, so the marshals apparently have really kind of boinked this one pretty badly by letting him go past the entire GS field and the pace car. Excuse me.
Yeah, they're probably going to have to EOL penalty the whole ST field, starting with Sergio Mora or Joao, whichever one it was supposed to be in first place, and sort it out. So might have to delay the pace car once again, and even shorten the final stint even more.
And we're seeing that right now. Freitas has been given an EOL, so is Whamon, Moore, Eckline, and Yemen. So the marshals are on it right now.
Freitas is not in a hurry to slow down though. He's going 80 miles an hour right around turn 6 right now. He's pretty much going race pace. We may have a very short final stint here if these guys can't quite work out what's going on right now.
Well, if Freitas doesn't slow down, they're probably just going to have to let him have serve a black flag, and that'll be the end of his race. So Freitas, if he wants to have a chance at the overall lead here or this ST lead, he needs to slow his car down and let the pack catch up to him.
And I mean, the drivers have access to all this timing and scoring through iRacing system, so Freitas should know that he's a lap ahead of everyone else right now. Yeah, he's gonna get in trouble. Pace lights are on, but someone needs to be on the radio to Freitas, because he's gonna keep going until he catches up to the rear of the field, and yeah, they'll throw him a black flag then, unless he's thinking, hey, a black flag for me at the tail end of the lead lap, I'll still come out on the lead lap knowing his pace, but I still don't think the officials are going to like the idea of that too much.
Yeah, and I wonder if he's finally caught on. He's only doing about 60 miles an hour right now, but I think he's far enough that he's about 30 seconds in front of the field. He probably just needs to pretty much stop the car and wait for everybody to catch up.
And he's on the radio, he's talking to race control, but I don't know, he still doesn't seem like he's in a hurry to slow down to me. Still going 60 miles an hour. And, while all this confusion is going on, let's take you around the lap around Laguna Seca. We didn't have time for the lap guide before the start of the race, but now we do. And we'll give you an idea of what this track is like, because you might want to know the intricacies of it when we go back green for this final stint of a race here.
All right, let's do a lap around Laguna Seca with Kevin Brown. Coming out of this final corner, it's extremely important to get as good as an exit as you can, because turn 2 is one of the best passing zones around here. Coming across the start-finish line, you'll see turn 1 here is kind of a non-corner, but it's still very blind. Just don't go over the pit exit there. Heavy braking for 2. It's going to be very easy to get wide. You want to hit both apexes here. There's one, and then he's got the other. Then you're going to let it track out to the right and bring it right back to the left side for 3. That's just a light stab of the brakes, and the car's going to push on the exit. You don't want to get on the gas too early. Now, turn 4 is very hairy. You don't want to clobber this inside red bump here, and you're going to see a lot of guys push wide like Kevin does here. If they get greedy on the gas, that's going to cause some accidents right there. Now, heavy braking for 5. The big thing about this corner is you'll want to carry as much momentum up the hill as you can. Get on the gas as soon as you can there. Now 6 is just a stab the brakes and pray sort of corner. Can't see that apex until the last second. Don't go wide. Don't hit the bump on the inside or you're going to be sent to the outside barriers. Keep your momentum up this hill once again. Stay to the left until the last second, then bring it right. Straighten it out. Brake, 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 brake. Can't see anything into the corkscrew. Down the hill you go. And you want to get it back to the right side for rainy curves. Stay to the right, stay to the right. Now bring it in for the apex, so it's a very late apex here. It's going to track out. Be careful not to get the dirt. Turn 10 is very heavily banked. You're going to be able to carry a lot of momentum. And then you're going to get the car back to the right again. Another possible passing zone into turn 11. And get it through there. And like I said, get on the gas as soon as you can without sending it to the inside concrete walls. And that's a lap around Laguna Seca.
And we are back here at Laguna Seca, and as you see, Freitas has now heeded the warning and has fallen into the GS field. But what I'm curious to see, Turn, is where is he going to filter into the GS field? Because he should go second place behind Sergio Mora. We saw him lose that race off of pit road when Mora came into the pits under this caution. But beforehand, it looked like they were going to give him the position.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure because I think I recall that he was given a wave by before Sergio Mora came out of the pits. So even though Sergio Mora beat him out of the pits, he was given the wave by, was given the position. That caused some confusion among the race marshals. But it looks like now he's just letting Sergio Mora by, and looks like he's coming back up to pace. So he's going to sit behind Sergio Mora, who's going to lead them away for the restart in the ST class.
Going back up to the front of the field now to see if the pace lights are off. Yes, they are. I think we will get a restart in here finally with just a little under 11 minutes left. That's going to be about 6 or 7 lap race here, Kevin. And Todd Tensarenko is going to be all over the back of Kimmo Suominen.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys, this is a sprint race for sure. Only 6 or 7 laps to go, and there's going to be some action right now. We see Hans Renko and Vieri setting up to get a run on Kimmo Suominen coming around turn 11. Let's see how this shakes out with the green flag.
Todd is right there, but it's going to be the timing. There goes the green flag, and Todd is not able to time it that well. In fact, you've got to go back up to about 5th place before they're side by side. Kimmo Suominen has got a good restart, and he's going to defend that inside line to save his life. Todd Tensarenko is going to stay in second. Patrick Beery there on the inside. And then we got Elliot Huffman there all through turn 1 cleanly so far. It's back to the ST starter.
Yep, Sergio Mora got a really good start ahead of João Freitas, and those two also are really far ahead of Amjad Yaman and James Stevenson, who were stuck behind the lap cars of David Wayman and Tom Eckline. So they have now gotten slowed down. They're going to have some work to do in these last 10 minutes of this race.
One driver who's going to have some work to do on GS side, Kevin, is Kimmo. He's going to have to hold off Todd. He's doing a really good job at that right now. He's got him by about 5 car lengths here.
Yeah, we've seen in the past that Kimmo, he likes to be the lead car. He does not like to be positioned to at any point. So Kimmo, definitely a good run, a good launch. Todd Tensarenko trying to hang on. Patrick Fieri doing a good job as well to hang on. But the surprise for me right now is Elliot Huffman in 4th. He just blitzed on the restart to move right up behind Patrick Fieri. And we see Tensarenko get a fantastic run through the corkscrew. He's looking on the inside into turn 9 into Rainy Curve, but no, he declines that option. That is a tough place to make a pass happen there. So that's a smart move. Tensarenko looking pretty good through turn 10 as well. Let's see if he's going to set up on the exit of 11.
Meanwhile, change for 5th place in the GS class. Brace Moreau had a really bad exit out of turn 6, and the driver who has gained a lot of spots since the restart in GS classes, Panu Pessinen, who was in that pile-up earlier, has gone from 8th to 5th in one lap. Back to ST, Ayrton.
Yeah, there's a battle for the inside on going into the final corner. Alfred is shooting to the inside of Sergio Mora. There's some GS cars getting loose in front of them as well. They're very close to touching as Sergio Mora starts to swerve to the inside. Almost touched him. Looks like he might have a little bit of damage as he's swerving a little bit on the straight. But the position now goes to João Freitas, who passed him in the previous corner.
Yes, a change for the lead in the ST field. Battle for third back there too with Yarman and Stevenson. Meanwhile, Kimo Swarman and I'm looking at the timing sheets. It's only about 2 seconds covering the top 4 cars in GS and about 3 seconds covering the top 4 cars in ST. So really, with 8 minutes left to go in this race, still anything can happen.
Yes, absolutely. Anything can happen. We did see Kimo Swarman go defensive into the turn 2 hairpin last lap. So Kimo's definitely worried about Todd Honsarenko right now. And Honsarenko does look very fast in a couple of key corners. Turn 6 for 1 and turn 11 as well. Honsarenko very good at getting the power out. But Kimo just very good at that mid-corner speed. And that is very tough to deal with.
You can see as Todd goes through the turn there, it's half a turn, half a slide. Really just pushing that car to the edge of its grip. He's got it, and you can see him getting wheel spin there as he comes out of turn 11. He really is giving it his all to try and pass Kimo. The passing opportunities are certainly out there, Kevin, but the speed of Kimo is hard to match.
Well, these are 2 of the best Mustang drivers there are on iRacing, and they are just going at it. They know it's a short sprint race, and they have just absolutely dumped Patrick Fieri on the last lap, dropped him by a second right now, as Kimo and Todd are just making these cars fly right now. This is a joy to watch. These guys are hitting every apex and just carrying so much speed right now.
And Braith Moreau's damaged Mustang has appeared in the pits. I'm going to try and get see what happened here. He had a crash on the previous lap. He put it in the wall in a battle for position. In turn 3, he was tagged by James Alex Brown. So unfortunate end to the race there for Braith Moreau. Meanwhile, we continue to watch this battle for the lead on the GS side, a lot closer than the battle to the lead on the ST side, which is currently held by Freitas Mura about a second behind. But the lap traffic of the GS field in front of them, the slower GS cars, could certainly play into that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something that João Freitas has to worry about. Meanwhile, Amjad Yaman closed in half a second on the leaders in the previous lap, so he's really charging, wanting to catch up, hopefully to pass Sergio Mora and possibly catch João Freitas, but that would be a difficult task, especially with James Stevenson right on his rear.
And as the GS leaders go by pit road there, you saw the damaged car of Braith Moreau sitting in his pit stall. But yeah, a bit, like I say, a bit spaced out, and off goes Mora. He gets his wheels in the gravel and he's going to lose a position, the Yarman. Bad mistake there by Mora, and is Stevenson going to capitalise? He looks to the inside, thinks twice of it. Maybe he'll try the crossover coming out in turn 11 here, Ayrton.
And that's going to give Amjad Yaman clean air to catch up to João Freitas. This might be 3-4-3 for Amjad Yaman, but João Freitas is not going to want that. He wants to win this race. He had a good result in the first race that he did, and didn't complete, didn't start another one. But now James Stevenson finally passing Sergio Mora for that third place position. I think Sergio Mora is really struggling at the moment. He must have had a little bit of damage between that contact with João Freitas.
Yeah, it would appear that Mora has dropped off a pace there. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get those positions back. Meanwhile, talking about dropping off a pace, Honsarenko a bit farther back of Kimo there, but he's still within a pouncing distance. So still trying to keep our eyes on both sides of the field. 4 minutes left about when Kimo comes over the line, so we're going to have about 3 laps left, I believe, Kevin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's about 3 laps left. Honsarenko pushing very hard, trying to catch up with Kimo Swarman. Starting to see him make some small, tiny mistakes, just enough to allow Kimo to stay about that half second in front of him. But here's where Todd's very good, is that exit of turn 11. But Kimo nails it as well. These guys are just kind of locked right here, about a half second apart, Samuel.
I'm sorry to keep switching back and forth, but Freitas has caught and Freitas gets a slowdown penalty, I think, because Yarman is down the inside of him now. Freitas got held up by the damaged GS car of Philip Carpenter, and now it is nose to tail for the top 3 in the ST class. Philip is on the radio. He says, I'm going to go to the right, pass me on the inside. Freitas and Yarmin abide. Stevenson tries to get a wide entry into the turn to see if he can get a better exit, but it's not happening. And you may have seen the image on the Facebook page, plastered a little bit all over iRacing recently, of Freitas and Yarmin fighting it out on the final lap at Sebring. We may see a repeat of that here, and it may start right about now as Yarmin already trying to make a bit more of a racing line, a bit more of an arc entering turn 1 than what Freitas was. Yarmin was trying to arc it more than what Freitas was. Wasn't able to do anything though, and Stevenson actually drops back a couple car lengths, Urban.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great rivalry between these two guys, or at least these 3 guys. They're all extremely close in pace, and Amjad Yamin, the new guy, just showing up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he's a top contender for the series championship. He's right on the tail of João Freitas, create a little bit of a gap from James Stevenson, but apparently Sergio Mora is having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, and let's just make sure they get through turn 6 okay here. Stevenson used to own this series, and then all these drivers have came across, Freitas and Yarmin, who we've seen in other GSRC televised broadcasts in the past. Freitas and Yarmin, we both know they have pace, and honestly, the driver who's shown a lot of improvement to me over the past couple of seasons is Amjad Yarmin, because Freitas has always been fast. He's always been one of the fastest and most consistent ST drivers. Yarmin was always fast, but we knew him as a doctor. It was strategy that won in races. Now he's winning it on pure pace. And look at this, Freitas makes a mistake, and he might be able to make a move on the outside coming through turn 11. That's not going to work, and now Stevenson may challenge him for second.
He's going to get a better run out of that corner. He's looking to the outside. João Freitas is going to defend on the inside, and James Stevenson is also going to get a draft from these guys. Maybe he'll make a move while Amjad Yamin is stuck on that outside line. He's not getting quite the run he wants, but still going to try to break a little late, but he slots in right behind. Actually, he's still looking on the outside, and that allows James Stevenson to sweep on the inside. They almost touch, and James Stevenson's going to try to take the position from Amjad Yamin, who has the inside line for turn 3. He's going to get back that position and thankfully not lose the position to James Stevenson.
Mora has lost his 4th position due to a disqualification. We're not entirely sure what that's all been about. Let's just say that this is a race I'm sure he's going to want to forget. Right now, Freitas has a bit of breathing space, and there's a battle for second in GS, Kevin.
There is a battle for second in GS, but it's been settled right now. Todd Hunsarenko got very loose a few laps ago into turn 4, barely kept the car on track, and Kimo Swamin and Todd Hunsarenko, Patrick Berrier, are all about 3/4 of a second away from each other.
Sergio Mora has left the race for good now, and the leaders just took what I think was a white flag. I think it's going to have to be a mistake from Kimo to lose him the race, Kevin, but who do you think is going to get second?
I think it's Todd Hunsarenko. I think this order's going to stay. They're just not quite close enough to make a pass unless somebody makes a mistake. And Kimo Swamin just nearly made a mistake. Almost dropped his wheels on the exit of turn 3. That could have put him into the wall, but he has saved that one. And then he puts a wheel off on the exit of turn 4. These guys are still pushing very, very hard, but they do have that ST car of David Wammen in front of them. That may cause some issues.
Talking about ST cars, the Yarmin-Stevenson battle is still on. They're coming down to turn 1, which is really the only great overtaking opportunity that Stevenson will have left. German Nathanael gets tagged by Amjad Yarmin and takes out Freitas! No, he doesn't. He almost took out Freitas. Wow, and now Yarmin loses the position to Stevenson. There was contact there between the lap GS car, but we have to go back to the GS finish, Kevin.
We do. David Wammen got caught out by Kimo Swamin, held up Kimo Swamin. Todd Hunsarenko was all over Kimo, under braking into the corkscrew, and now Hunsarenko is attacking into turn 10. He's got one last chance into turn 11, but that may have been too much as they come around 11 for the last time. It's going to be Kimo Swamin leading. Hunsarenko tried to get on the power, gets loose, just not enough. Kimo Swamin is going to win this GS race.
And it looks like Freitas is going to win the ST race after the GS car skidded off right behind him, but who's going to get second? Right now it's Stevenson, Ayrton.
Yeah, but Amjad Yamin is not going to give up. He's right behind us. They're heading to the corkscrew. There's only a few passing opportunities left Yaman is going to have to hope that Stevenson makes a mistake and hope that he can get a run somewhere. He's really right on that rear bumper, but there's only about 2 corners left.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to do anything with him. The win will certainly go the Freitas for the 2nd year in a row at the circuit, and for the first time this season, Amjad Yamin is not going to win an ST race in the CESCS. Yamin tries to cross over Stevenson in the final turn, but goes far too far wide. João Freitas wins in the street tuner class here at Laguna Seca. Stevenson gets 2nd, Yamin gets 3rd. Let's see if we can try and get a replay of that incident going into turn 1 on the final lap. It was Dramina Fanador who, there was a GS car trying to get out of the way in the gravel trap on the exit of turn 1. Dramina Fanador was caught by surprise and turned to the left at the very last moment just before the final turn, and in doing so was clipped by Amjad Yamin, skidded through the gravel heading into turn 1, and I also thought that he had just T-boned the leader João Freitas into the first corner. That wasn't what happened. We're aware that it's going to take Giancarlo a moment to find a replay here, but at the same time I think it's just something else. If we could get it up, we may have to end up going to a commercial break before that happens. And we are going to go to break, but we'll try and wrap this all up for you when we return. What a race we saw here today. Hello and welcome back to Laguna Seca, where we just saw a bit of a different race here at Laguna Seca today. Let's get to race results first in here. In the GS class, we had Kimo Swamanen taking the spoils in front of Todd Henserenko, Patrick Beery, Elliot Huffman, and Arthur Hermont in the top 5. Then it was Panu Pessanen, Phil Schrader, Tim Brokaw, Jason Breifogel, and James Alex Brown rounding out the top 10. Then we had Jason Lundy, Anthony Woodward, Mike Main were the ones left on the lead lap, and Philip Carpenter was a bit farther back, and then Brandon McIntyre was 15th place in GS. A bit farther on back we had Sean Vandergroff, Andre Trago, German Afanador, Brace Moreau, John Ellers, Matthew Oak, Denny Locke, Nicholas Bailey, and Richard Holiday, who I don't believe started the race. On the ST side, we had your winner was João Freitas, after I'm sure you were watching the replays with us while we were on break there, just missing a spinning GS car right behind him. Then we got Stevenson, Yarmin, George Britton, Thomas Torp rounding out the top 5, Eric Smith, Bill Randleman, Han Haltau, Stefan Overgaard, and Marco Mogren rounding out the top 10. Then it was Jared Lawson, Tom Eckline, Ed Verast, Andy Kosilova, Sergio Mora, David Wammond, and Joshua Leutz, Russell Clayson, and Richard Holiday wasn't an ST car, not a GS car. That was my mistake earlier. So a bit of an eventful race, and we can only sum it up so much, but why not get a couple of the drivers to sum it up for us too. João Freitas, the winner of the ST class. João, congratulations on the win.
Thank you, Samuel.
Now I've got to ask you, on the final lap we had one of the Mustangs sliding through the grass entering turn 1. Did you see him in your rearview mirror there?
Yeah, I didn't. I saw him and I felt him almost, so I was really scared. I saw my race finish right there.
Well, thankfully that wasn't to be the case, and you ended up getting a win. It seemed like there was a bit of a miscommunication on that last caution. They told you they'd have a wave around, and then they told you they'd go back to second place behind Sergio Mora.
Yeah, I think it was there was a confusion there, but it all got resolved. So, and I think I started second instead of first, but I won, so I can't complain.
Absolutely. You've won at this track 2 years in a row in the CES now. Is this one of your favourite tracks?
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite tracks. Today I wasn't so fast, since last season, so I think my competition is getting stronger now.
Yeah, certainly a lot of big names and exciting action up front there. Well, thank you for coming to talk to us, Freitas, and congratulations on the win. We look forward to seeing you again.
Okay, thank you, Samuel.
Alright, our second interview here is the runner-up driver, James Stevenson. James, congratulations on second place. Were you looking for the win, or are you happy with the second?
This track is one of my bogey tracks, so I generally just go out here and try and stay safe and see where I end up at the end.
Alright, now we got to ask, on the final lap when Andre Yarmin clipped the Mustang of German Afanador, that's when you were able to make the move. What were your thoughts when that all happened?
Oh, I thought I was going to go into the both of them. I only just managed to miss them and get through there. It was crazy stuff. Ever since that last safety restart there, everyone was just all over the place. It was nuts.
Now, you did have one incident in turn 6 with Andre Yarmin in the middle of a race. Was there a bit of bad blood after that, or were you guys able to sort out your differences there?
There certainly wasn't any bad blood after that, but yeah, it's certainly a spot that you don't try and force it too wide.
Yeah, well, we're glad you were able to get away from that okay, and hey, you ended up beating him anyhow, so you get the last laugh, I suppose.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to though. The car was way off the pace until that last pace car there, and then it gained some pace from nowhere.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, James. We're glad you're happy with the second, and you gave us an exciting race there today.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, now I'm gonna hand it over to my co-commentator, Kevin Brown, to interview a couple of GS drivers.
Indeed, thank you, Samuel. And right now we have our fourth place finisher, Elliot Huffman. Elliot, a little bit of a quiet race from you today. One thing I did notice was you kind of moved up through the field after you started ninth, and you looked wicked fast on the restarts today.
Yeah, the nice thing about being mid-pack where I was there is the green flag comes out just as I'm coming off turn 11, so I'm basically the last driver who's able to just drop the throttle right as the start comes down. That last restart especially, I got a huge run on Braith and managed to clear him completely before turn 2 and 3. And yeah, it was a fun race all the way.
Now, tell us a little bit about the middle of the race during that long caution session where all of a sudden I realized that you were up front with Brandon McIntyre and Kimo Swamanen up there, and it seemed like you were off strategy, but that worked out well for you.
I was off strategy because I began improvising at the first caution. I was originally hoping to see if I could go on a one-stopper, hoping for a lot of cautions. We got them, but they didn't come as soon as I expected, so I switched up, pitted it in the first caution, topped up, and basically came back out in the same spot I went in, so it worked out well for me then. And then I just tried to see how long I could run it. That last caution actually came out right as I was debating whether I was pitting that exact lap when it came out or go around the next time, and so that actually kind of bit me a little bit.
Well, hey, congratulations on your fourth place. I think that moves you into second overall in the standings, so you must be pretty pleased with that.
I am especially pleased because I absolutely loathe this track. Looks fun, drives fun, but it's extremely hard to get down. I'm going to give an extra thank you to Patrick Bieri because he's the one that shared his setup that I ended up using earlier in the week. And without that, I don't think I'd be anywhere near where I finished.
All right, well, congratulations again, Elliot.
Thank you.
Also in the booth with us is our third place finisher, Patrick Bieri. Patrick, I thought you had made the right strategy calls to take the win. Tell us about your race.
Yes, my strategy is good, but the problem, I have the restart at the mid-pack and I have damage after this.
Yeah, we saw the damage that you got into. Did you see that wreck happening when you hit, or was that a surprise for you?
No idea what happened. I was pushed from behind. I have no idea what happened.
And how was the car after that? Was the handling okay, or were you struggling?
Handling was good, but I lost top speed. That's the problem.
So, did you think that you would be able to have a chance to fight Kimo and Todd for the win after that?
No, I see. I lost speed. I hope I can still at third place.
Well, congratulations on that third. You have retained the overall championship lead, I do believe, so you must be happy.
Yes, I'm happy, but I'm not happy after the sixth incident. I lost bonus points. That's not good.
Well, congratulations on the third place, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, I'm in for all the race. Thanks.
Well, Kevin, I've got to admit that was a bit crazier than I expected. There's too many headlines to try and wrap my mind around. I think, excuse me about that. I think Wes Eric and the guys do a great job of managing the series, but it looks like we had a few drivers upset with how the rules were playing out under caution there.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the big storyline amongst the drivers and the marshals until the next round. I think a lot of drivers are probably upset about a few things, so we'll have to see how they shake that out.
And do you think we'll get a GIF going late in the week of a Fanador sliding through the grass and trying to take Travis out?
Well, we'll have to see what happens, won't we? If somebody's got some time to make it.
Yeah, well, we hope you guys were watching the replays during that final break right there. And the reason we were playing so many angles was, one, because it was the coolest thing that we've seen during our broadcast in a little while, probably up there with that guy helicoptering at VIR. And two, and I forget what number 2 was, we were trying to work out what actually happened. There was a car stopped off on the right hand side entering turn 1. Personally, I thought a Fanador had moved over into Yarmin and spun himself around, but from watching the onboards, it actually looked like it was Yarmin's mistake. Kind of ran into the back of a Fanador, and that's what turned the Fanador sideways. At the end of the race, no harm, no foul for the ST cars, other than Stevenson was able to get second. So that about sums up our broadcast here from Laguna Seca. We would like to thank Safecraft Racing and Wes Eric for organising this league. We would also like to thank the makers of the various software and hardware that help make this stream possible: iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch.tv, Audio Technica and Ava Media. Thanks to the team today. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel. A special thank you to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with much of our music. You can find it not only here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Thanks to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with much of the music for our broadcasts. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bootcamp.com. Our next CESCS broadcast will be on Saturday, May 18th, 6:30 PM Eastern Time at Lime Rock. We also have a couple more broadcasts this weekend with different series. The Piston Cup will be racing at Richmond tomorrow at 2:45 PM Eastern Time, and the Northwest Majors will be at Rockingham at 9 PM Eastern Time. So if you enjoy yourself a little bit of Sunday night oval racing, join in. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.